Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Gargoyles episode reviews. Today we're looking at monsters. I was trying to summarize this ep's plot, and it sounded like one of those dreams you have after eating a pepperoni, anchovy, pineapple pizza and taking Benadryl. Trippy, to say the least. It sounded something like this. It's the ep where Angela meets Nessie, and they spend the whole episode bonding, while Sevarius is using a Leviathan robot sub to try to catch another Nessie so he can make more monsters, despite the fact that he can make perfect clones in less than 12 months and is able to meld eel cat-bat DNA with humans to create creatures even more impressive than gargoyles. It's basically a snark, sarcasm, and witticism fest for Sevarius. Welcome to Monsters, or the Ode to Tim Curry, as I call it. If you missed last week, it was Kingdom, and it was, or I guess yesterday's, it was Kingdom, and it was a very good episode. They were back in New York, and by they, I mean the camera crew. Spoilers in the 2020 moments, info from Ask Greg and according to Greg Bits. Season 2, Episode 27, Monsters. Reasons for existence. I don't know, Greg ate a bad burrito. We need more Tim Curry in our lives. To confirm Angela's parentage, to introduce another legendary creature, to show that all monsters are human, to reinforce the importance of relationships. Main antagonists, Dr. Anton Sevarius, Bruno and Company. Times, January 17th, 96. 17th. So, in between these little adventures, are they going back to Avalon and staying there for an hour or two and coming back out? We'll see, I guess. Location, Loch Ness, Scotland. Monsters. Elisa is commenting that they're not on Avalon anymore. Well, duh, detective. Well, I guess they do go back to Avalon then. Well, that's kind of a bummer when every time you pull off into the sea there, you end up on Avalon instead of New York. Well, here we go again. That summary bit up there, seriously, that's the episode right there. So, for this one-shot review, don't expect a whole lot about the protags. It's basically Goliath and Elisa trying to find Angela while Angela pets Nessie. According to Greg, there's a lot wrong with this ep, but he likes it overall. You know, I like Sevarius. So, who doesn't, really? Which is kind of weird considering how questionable his morals and actions are. For the second time during this world tour, we open with the skiff rocking around because a Leviathan bumps it. This one's metal, though. It disappears. Turns out Avalon has sent the group to Loch Ness in Scotland. Elisa phones Matt, finally, and lets him know she's fine. You know, why didn't you use Nick's sat phone, Elisa? But this is the 1990s, and his answering machine's tape is full. That's right, back then they used cassette tapes to record messages. I remember them. Okay, I would call more than just Matt. I would call my parents, I would call my work, I would call other friends. Tour guides hound Elisa as she heads back to the gang. Since our fearless heroes still don't understand the whole Avalon sends you where you need to be deal, they get back in the skiff. Hey, not so fast. There's a hump in the water. Elisa is painfully skeptical, saying it's all a show put on by the tourist boat companies. Alright, wait, you just saw a child of Oberon turn into not only a Leviathan, but also a Thunderbird. You know, with the mouth and face in its stomach. Yeah. Yet you think this is a trick. Is it just because you don't want to admit that Matt and all the, quote, loonies out there were right? And here's the boat, Monster Tour boat. At night Monster Tours with that fog? Must be a drinking cruise. The monster crashes into the tour boat, knocking a hole in the vessel. So much for it being a show. It also flips the skiff. Angela sinks, and despite Goliath and Bronx's effort, she's eaten. But not by a flesh and blood monster. No, a metal sea monster swallows her. Yeah, I don't even know what to say about this picture. It's the metal sea monster eating her. That is a massive submarine. Yeah, that's huge. She's now a guest of Bruno and the Xanatos Enterprises security forces. Hey, does this mean we'll see Xanatos? Oh, let it be. What this means, assuming Bruno and the gang aren't freelancing while wearing the XE tactical gear, is that Xanatos has a hand in whatever's going on. It's pretty obvious that the thugs are after Nessie. I can only assume it would make a great addition to SeaWorld or some other repository of curiosities. Beyond that, I don't know why Xanatos would invest the colossal amount of capital it would require to design, manufacture, and operate a secret sea monster sub in Loch Ness. Maybe the creature has the key to immortality? Are they magical? Magical Leopleurodon? Now that David would totally spend his greenbacks on. The sub pulls into a lovely underground docking facility. It's amazing, and this is like military grade. Reminds me of something from Resident Evil or James Bond. The sub docks. Sevarius greets them over the intercom, asking if they have Big Daddy. What, the guy who owns Big Daddy's bail bonds and used cars? No, apparently it's another Nessie. Without his companionship, the monster they have isn't long for this world. Talk about codependent. And here the fail squad is coming out of the ship, or the sub. The animators go through a lot of effort to hide Sevarius' identity for as long as possible. You know, it's another one of these stupid silhouettes that has no purpose because you really know who it is. Why, you can't mistake his voice. And by this time, any viewer of the show will be very familiar with him. Heck, we just saw him not long ago in the cage. Literally in the cage. He threatens to send Bruno back to Xanatos if the Merc doesn't capture Big Daddy. Okay, well, first of all, what's the big threat in that? Like, he normally works there. So what? So, is Xanatos actually bankrolling this entire thing, or is he a partner with Anton? Or possibly some other corporation? That would be a good twist. Sevarius is excited about seeing another gargoyle, since he thinks it's a new clan. He tells Bruno to collect the usual cell samples, that's not foreboding, then put her in the grotto. Bruno is shocked by this last order. I guess the grotto isn't exactly Candy Mountain, Charlie. Or is it? There is a magical Leopleurodon there. As Sevarius speaks, he plays with the unconscious Angela's hair. It's creepy. Like, seriously, of all the things that he's done, it is one of the creepiest things, just because it's so mundane, but has such a bad connotation. Anton is totally every Tim Curry character ever, by the way. Goliath and company wash up on shore. Again, here we are just washing up after possibly being unconscious in the water. Elisa guesses there must be a sub-dock somewhere. Of course, there must be. The animation in this ep is painful. Nice hair, though. Flowing locks. He's all wet there. Angela wakes up in the grotto with Loch Ness Monster. Well, now, you don't get to type a sentence or read a sentence like that very often. Of course, the gargoyle and dino bond. Yeah. And it goes on and on and on. According to Greg, there is a gargoyle clan in Loch Ness. They're supposed to protect the monsters. Yeah, they're like aquatic or something, like semi-aquatic. No, wow, talk about falling down on the job. I really think they should have used those in this episode, because it would have been a better story than whatever the heck is going on here. And we would have seen another clan, like we do in the next few episodes. Sevarius saves the day with, if it gets any more saccharine in there, I'm going to put a finger down my throat. At this point, I'm wondering if they just let Tim Curry improv the dialogue. Thanks to Sevarius' dictated report, we learned that Nessie was not doing well without her mate, Big Daddy, but now she's doing better. Sevarius also finds Angela fascinating. Back down in the town, Elisa sees Bruno and his gang getting supplies from the local store. She jumps in the truck bed and rides along. How convenient. There they are, looking just so sly in their matching uniforms. It's kind of a neat uniform. Got a white base with gray shoulders, a lighter gray torso, and gray, like a semi in between their gray pockets on the breast pockets. But they've got blue and gray hats and sunglasses. Yeah. And they come to a castle ruin, and of course the entrance is hidden in an old castle. Note, Elisa coins the term Xanatos Goon Squad. How very 90s. Now Anton plans to put a tracker on the female monster. Let her loose, follow her, then capture both sea monsters. Yeah, it's dumb. No, I don't. It doesn't sound like a Xantos plot. I mean, other than the tracker part. Alright. But otherwise, it's pretty simple. Yes, the writers needed to think this through more. How much tranquilizer serum would it take to put that huge monster down anyway? We also learn that Angela is Goliath's daughter. This is presented as some sort of big reveal, but really, were you surprised? She looks like him and Demona. Plus, this is a TV series, so of course the family tie-in would be strong. Having her be just another random Garg would fall flat. Anton's creep level is maxed out right here. Now, why is Sevarius doing all this? He wants the two sea monsters as breeding stock. Really? That's his reason? Oh my gosh. More Nessies means more genetic material for monster making, he says. Okay, can't you just take genetic material from both of them and be done with it? Slow down. So you've got some dino DNA. Big deal. It's cool, but it's not like you walked into Jurassic Park and were given a free pass to their genetic stock. You'd be better off trolling the ocean depths for the weird creatures there, or maybe going deep in the jungle. So many animals out there that I find this reason for capturing Nessie very weak. And how much difference is one Nessie from the other anyway? And that is one massive turtleneck he is wearing. Because this is such an incredibly lame reason, I question whether the endeavor was 100% Xantos funded. As I mentioned earlier, the price would be astronomical. From what we've seen on the mutates in the pack, conventional animals provide enough diversity for the monster making. Would David really consider investing this much cash to catch both Nessies necessary? Unlike his pursuit of immortality, monster making is not his obsession. I'd go so far as to suggest that after the failure of the Mutates projects and the humiliating defeat at the hands of Thalog, a defeat that almost cost David his life, along with the $20 million that it did cost him, Xantos will put those types of projects on hold indefinitely. Plus, he has his unborn kid to fulfill his let's create life urge. I almost wonder if this Nessie project was funded partly by the Illuminati. Remember how they wanted to get their hands on Goliath for some strange reason? I still don't know why. But that's that underground base there. Yeah, that does seem something that they would do. Elisa, Goliath, and Bronx find the entrance to the underground facility. Sure they do. In his infinite wisdom, Sevarius lets them in. Why? Well, he thought he could take them out, despite the evidence to the contrary. Actually, he does manage to capture them. Wow, good work. Sevarius is thrilled with their capture, reveling in the fact that his facility has, quote, a dungeon. It even has torches. Yeah, that's more Illuminati than anything else. And unless, like I say, Anton has his own company now and somehow is just partnering with Xanatos. But can you hold them, Anton? Being a good typical villain, Sevarius leaves to do his dirty work, putting the lone Bruno in charge of guarding the captives. No surprise, Goliath and Elisa escape. Bronx takes Bruno down. Unfortunately, Bruno accidentally blows a hole in the wall. The facility is apparently made of cardboard and duct tape, because it starts to flood from that one little blast. Sure, they can dig through 5 feet of solid stone in under 30 seconds. They all get in a mini-sub, which looks like a hammerhead shark crossed with a Nessie. Sevarius is chasing Nessie by this point. For bait, he draws to draw Nessie and Big Daddy in taser range. I'll get to tasers in a minute, chill out. He uses Angela. Yep, he drags her hundreds of feet underwater behind the sub. I can't even. She'd be dead. The end. Elisa and Goliath force Bruno to pilot the mini-sub. Goliath leaves via the torpedo tube to save Angela, heedless of the effects pressure would have on him. The mini-sub grinds across the other sub, tearing a hole in it, or at least damaging it enough to let water rush in. And apparently there's no bulkheads that seal off that area. But the lizards come within range of the sub. Sevarius uses the tasers. That little sub is built like a tank. I mean, if it's grinding the back off of that sub, wouldn't it be grinding the belly off of itself? I really don't know how well this would work underwater, the whole taser thing. Yeah, electric eels work underwater, but would a taser? You need 2 prongs to land so that the power can flow from one to the other. You know, it's kind of like how the pads in a defibrillator work. the electricity actually travels between them, and that's why you have to position them correctly so that that arc goes across the heart. Anyway, what effect would water have on this electric thing? I say he's better off drugging them like he did with Nessie earlier and then netting him. The sea monsters struggle with the sub, latching onto its neck. Sevarius and the security forces are in the head section. Their area is flooding. Again, would you not build it a little bit stronger? I mean, you're going after sea monsters. No, it's not good. Not good at all. The Loch Ness monsters drag the sub down 900 plus feet. And that's the last we see of Sevarius in this ep. Is he dead? Surely not. I mean, he's Sevarius. Bruno even comments that he has more lives than a cat. Now, this drawing here, I just happened to look, and it kind of looks like Bruno is in here, but it's really hard to tell because they got, like, face mask, glasses and stuff. And the critters go after the sub, kind of follow it down the abyss. 2020 moment. Did you think he was dead? Like, I did. I pretty much did. Or were you surprised to see him pop up in Hunter's Moon? We wrap up with the Gargoyles and Elisa, seeing Mr. and Mrs. Nessie, and two little ones. Aren't they cute? According to Greg, the 4 members of the XE security forces died in the sub. Wow. I find it a little harsh. Arrest them, maybe, but drown them? They're just mercenaries. They haven't committed any atrocities. At least not of their own volition. I mean, they're not even like the pack. They didn't kill the pack off. And the pack are psychos. Alright, according to me, I wonder what effect their deaths had on Bruno. In Awakening, he was pissed off that Goliath and company had beat up his people at the castle. Now 4 of his people, basically his whole team, are dead. And for what? This was a stupid scheme. They didn't die in battle either. They drowned. That's a nasty way to go. They've all been together on this team for a long time. At the very least, they've worked together and fought side by side for a year. Bruno doesn't show much emotion when the protags have him tied up on shore, but he probably didn't know his people were dead, or it hadn't sunk in. Even a combat-hardened warrior feels something when his brothers and sisters in arms fall. Will he reconsider his job at least, or at least the jobs he takes after this? Will we get to see what happens to him? It's amazing how often good ideas in our lives turn into disasters. The disasters have far more influence on our lives, on our course of our lives, than our successes, in general anyway. As for Xantos, he was probably miffed that his forces were dead, but that irritation would have come because he now has to break in new goons. I'm not sure what Elisa will do with Bruno. What proof does she have that he was involved in anything? The docking facility was destroyed. Even then, what's to prove he was part of it? And so what? It's not illegal to have subs in the lock, as far as I know. I don't know. It might be, but it's not like a huge crime. They have no proof it caused the tour boat fiasco, or that he was responsible for it. I would also guess the place is in no way traceable to Xantos or whoever funded it. Final thoughts. Sevarius steals the episode. I didn't quote many of his lines, because almost every one of them is a zinger. You really need to watch the episode, and revel in Tim Curry's delivery, combined with Greg and company's writing. It was interesting to see how much importance Angela puts on the fact that Goliath is her dad. Since she grew up with human parents, she's attuned to the significance of knowing one's biological parents. With the revelation about their relationship, will it influence how Angela interacts with Goliath? He knew she was his rookery daughter, and he didn't seem to care much about the news of being her bio dad. But remember, maybe the importance will grow on him. Well, come back next time, and we'll see what Halcyon Renard has been up to. Yeah, I know you're all just dying for that. We have to go to Prague to find him, though. We'll also meet a golem. And no, I don't mean Smeagol. So, what did you think of this episode? Did you think it was kind of trippy? Do you think Xantos funded this all completely by himself? And why? Well, comment here. You can comment on the blog. Remember to like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.